We're here on a beautiful day in May for the 50th reunion of the class of 1960 of the United States Military Academy at West Point. About 50 years ago this time, these young men went through the Sally Port at West Point to a new life. That new life included playing a major part in winning the Cold War against the Soviet Union for the next decades, where the men of the class of 1960, together with their brothers at West Point, shed their blood and gave their lives in defense of the country. We're here to honor that service and to honor those who were left behind on the battlefields of the world. Good brotherhood, good fellowship, a tribute to duty, honor, country. My name is Tom Davidson. My father was the superintendent at West Point when these men were cadets. These are his boys, Gar's boys, and he is proud of them as he looks down today from his vantage point above to say, well done, class of 1960. I'm here as the unofficial videographer to honor the class, to honor their service, to honor their sacrifice for the country. This is kind of the opening evening. Everybody getting to know each other again. Yes. 600 strong or so, I think, here for this. Good journey. Anybody in this scene?
Today, and we're going to do a little treasurer's report, some old business, new business, and any other business, and then we're going to try and finish in about an hour. Most of you have had a chance to take a peek through the 50 yearbook, which is, in my view, a marvelous piece of work. Yeah. few of these books in the past, and I wasn't keen on trying to get one going for the 50th reunion, but I work at Burdishaw, and Lynn Wishart from the class of 1957 brought his 50 yearbook in after his 50th reunion 3 years ago, and I looked at it and I said, we got to do one of these. And it's a great piece of work. They did a wonderful one, and across the bottom of every page it says Black 57 or something. Oh, yeah. And I said, we got to do that. So I sent out a note on the forum and on the AOG website and asked, proposed that we do this and asked for volunteers. And there was a deafening silence for probably 3 to 6 weeks, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't that long. Nat probably knows better than I, but it seemed like there was no response for a while, and then all of a sudden Nat Fox sent me a note and said, I'd like to take that on. He said, I'm retiring from my business and I'm looking for something to do, and I'd like to do that. I said, Nat, bless you, you are on. He took the reins, and I didn't have any guidance for him. We want to have a 50 yearbook, and I said, I've got a copy of one that was done by 57. I borrowed it from Lynn Wishart, and I found out that there were some others online, and he took it from there. He organized it. He got volunteers to work with him on it, a whole bunch of volunteers. They plotted out the timelines that they were going to be on, when the deadlines were going to be, what was required from all of us. Came up with a questionnaire, and you guys filled it out. Had tremendous response to all of that, and the product, I think, is really a masterpiece. And so I want to recognize Nat Fox, and I want to recognize Nat, would you come forward? It's heavy, and so I saw somebody, I guess it was Craig, was down at the desk the other day saying, trying to figure out how he's going to mail it back home. Because I don't do check-on luggage. But anyway, in recognition of the wonderful work that Nat has done, and he's going to make a few remarks about the rest of the people, and we're going to present them some mementos also. But I know that from talking with him on the phone and email, this has been a labor of love for Nat, and for most of the people who put in great hours on it. Many of them, I'm told, put in as many as 1,500 hours, worked basically half-time on this project, and so I want to present Nat with I'm told you can't get that in the overhead. It won't fit in the overhead of most airplanes. Thank you very much.
Security wouldn't let it on.
This is pretty heavy reading. About 8.5 pounds worth. But it feels good to be appreciated, and I feel great. It was an honor. It really was. And it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Good morning. I've been asked more than once why I do this. I've done this. I was too late to think about doing it for the class of 57. Whether I should have or shouldn't have is another issue. I was actually there the day they broke and ran. So, by the way, was the Secretary of the Army, the Chief of Staff, Max Taylor. I listened around the headquarters 100 to the conversation about what they should do with those guys. And they range from lining them up against a wall and shooting them, to not letting them graduate, to having them come back and try it over again, etc. So I think my dad later, in his later years, softened a little bit on all of that, but I did do it for the class of 58, the class of 59, who were generous enough to let me come do this because I figured this is my honor. Why do I do this? My roots go back a long way at West Point. My mother and my father met here when she was dragging cadets and he was a young football coach. I was born here. I married the Dean's daughter, Connie Bessel, Bill Bessel. My uncle was Al Grunther, Ike's chief of staff, NATO commander, 4-star general. Dick Grunther of the ALG was my cousin, shot through the stomach in Korea. So there are a lot of heroes of the military. One of them is not me. I was never where bullets flew. I elected not to follow my father. I thought that was an impossible task. He was one of the heroes of the 20th century. He was a football player, played on the great Army teams in the 1920s. Light Horse Harry Wilson played against Notre Dame in the Four Horsemen. He was the coach at the age of 29, had one of the greatest records in the history of West Point. He was Patton's engineer in North Africa, Sicily. Patton pinned his own stars on my dad, the youngest general in the Army at the time, at the age of 39. Went all the way through France into Germany, presided over the first war crimes trial. Thought he was done after 4 years away while my mother was raising us. Then Korea went off and we were pushed down in the Davidson perimeter, and MacArthur sent for him and said, come build the Davidson line, which he did. Led the breakout, captured 3,000 of the enemy, switched hats to the infantry, took the 24th Division all the way to the Yalu River until the Chinese almost wiped them out. Came back and then had his dream job, to be your Sioux. That was the dream of his life. He started for the first time in 200 years in the history of the military academy, a review of the curriculum of the academy, and changed it only in small ways at that time, but a monumental change that's now being realized by historians to make him the greatest superintendent in the history of West Point. You will see historians start to talk about that since there. So I'm proud of him, and more than that, he was proud of you. And so I think when I come to see West Pointers, I think you guys are too close to what you do. You don't realize what you've done. You don't realize what you've done for the country. And so I don't think you really appreciate what the nation thinks about you. So I'd like to come back and remind you what you've done. I never know the exact words to say, but God took a hand in it this time. As I was leaving the house to come up, my wife, Connie, said, get that last box out of the garage where you've had it out there. You need to get through it. Get it out of the way. I don't want it here while you're gone. So I went over, I opened the box, and guess what was the top thing on the box? It was my dad's talk to you 50 years ago. I'm not going to read it all, but I'm going to read a couple of things because A, it shows you as the members of the Long Gray Line, and B, it shows your service to the country. And this is a little of what he said to you. I think you realize now in the retrospective of 50 years where you fit. When you entered the East Valley Port at Central Barracks last week, you provided the 159th link in the chain that forms the Long Gray Line. Every class that has composed that chain sometime during its career has been called upon to fight in the defense of our country, except, of course, the classes that have graduated since the Korean conflict. West Point has never failed to provide the leaders necessary for that defense. Your class will be no exception. Sometime, you in your turn will be called upon to fight for our way of life and to provide the leaders necessary for that purpose. Well, how long did it take for that prophecy to come true? Within a very short time, you and your classmates were in Vietnam, shedding your blood, leaving people behind, and bringing back men who would never be the same again. Beyond that, over the next decades, you and your classmates helped win a very hot Cold War. Over the next 20 or 30 years, you would make our country safe. He also said, West Point will train you for that change. And above all, you will receive here at West Point the development of an integrity and a character in each one of you that on the battlefield can withstand the most compelling of human instincts, the instinct for self-preservation. The Academy is dedicated to the unswerving purpose of turning out men of quality who can be entrusted
with the lives of their fellow countrymen and the security of their country. Think about that. You can be entrusted with the lives of your fellow countrymen and the security of your country. That's a singular honor that you and men like you have done for decades, now for centuries. To accomplish that, we follow a unique pattern founded on an extreme devotion to duty, a deep love for country, and a high regard for honor. You're members of the same long gray line that produced Grant, Sherman, Sheridan, Lee, Jackson, Pershing, Bradley, Patton, Eisenhower, and a whole host of others. Each of those individuals, in their time, pulled back their chins just as far, raised their chests just as high, and polished their shoes in brass just as thoroughly as you're doing at the present time. They too ran and drilled from morning till night. While you're here at the Military Academy, and these words should now ring true to you, you will make friendships deeper, closer, more lasting than any you have known in your lives. Most of them will span at least half a century of time and a world and area. It may be surprising to you, he said, that I would gladly swap my position here with any of you today. Think about that, from a three-star general. During June week, as you will now do, one of the highlights is the march of the graduates from the officers' mess to the Thayer Monument. To me, that was always an inspiring sight. As a cadet, I watched those men go by with their classes and could easily envision the deeds that they had performed at the China Wall, in the swamps and jungles of the Philippines, at San Juan Hill, at Chateau Thierry, at Belleau Wood. Last June, my class held its 30th reunion. As we marched by, it was not hard for me to harken back to those days when I was a cadet and watched other classes go by. In my class now, in our turn, and you in your turn, we had those who hobbled, those who had saluted with their left hand. We had one chap who couldn't see, others simply weren't there. We in our turn had become a symbol of the deeds for which West Point stands, and I'm certain that you, in your turn, although it seems distant today, will go through the same experience. Now, in closing, let me say that I feel the class of 1960 has gotten off to a fine start. You're just starting to write the first chapter in your service careers. When the chapters are closed years from now, let the record say, well done. Well, I'm here this morning on behalf of my father, your Sue, to report that he's looking out on you, his boys, and is supremely proud of what the class of 1960 and every one of you has accomplished. I can hear him saying, well done, 1960. As his son, I'm honored to be here to video your 50th reunion as a very small token of my honor and respect for you and for him and all men and women at West Point. God bless you. Go like 60.
Bob Anderson and Billy Carpenter, The Lonely Land. But this was our yearling year before the next year was the big 58 team, but 57. But here we were, these young football players and young people at the academy. We're walking down towards the river in front of the Suits house, and Andy or Bill says, damn it, a squirrel just went into the trash receptacle right there, which had the fencing inside where the damn squirrel got in there, got into the fencing, and here we are, we're picking this thing up and we're trying to flip it out, and we're trying to capture this damn squirrel, and Guard Davidson must have been watching us, and later on, about a week or two ago in the morning inspections, well, too bad you dummies didn't, you know, as he went by in the 2nd Regiment that morning, it was reminded that, you dumb clowns, how come you couldn't catch that damn squirrel? And we didn't. We played for about 15 minutes and the damn thing got away.
That's wonderful.
And it was just, it showed me he was a human man.
He was.
He didn't gig us or nothing to come out of like that. He just must have sat there and laughed his ass off watching us.
And to the wives of the class of 1968. Have a great cruise.
In all my years at West Point, I never heard what a 2%er was, so tell me what that is.
Well, 2%er is somebody that is dating when they enter and marries when they graduate.
Okay.
98% of the people that are dating when they enter don't be together when they graduate.
And you guys made it through not only to then, but to now, 50 years later.
Right.
Actually, we were married 3 days after graduation.
Okay.
And we said, before we go to Europe, we are going to visit the Statue of Liberty. And it never happened. I went with the children, but he was working. And 50 years now, and here we are.
We're finally going to do. Are you a 2%er also?
We are 2%ers. She's down in the lower deck.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So Joe Stillwell, I've asked him about his daughter to tell me about his daughter in Kandahar.
She is a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. She had 15 months in Iraq and came back, went to the career course, and on her way back to Fort Lewis, they asked her if she would go over and be aviation liaison for Stryker Brigade in Kandahar. And she agreed to do that. And unfortunately, she went over after the brigade had been there 6 months. So she will be coming back in July.
Oh, that's fantastic.
She's enjoying doing work she's doing.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
My youngest daughter was the Bearing Point USA contract, Virgin Nations, in Kabul for a year. And Bearing Point went bankrupt. She joined Deloitte. Deloitte bought that part, so she was there for another 6 months. She had 18 months. She's back now.
Wow.
She's not.
Yeah, I wonder where they got the idea for all that service. Where do you think that came from?
I don't have any idea. Couldn't come up with it.
I think it went back up the tree somewhere.
I think so.
God bless you for your service and theirs. Congratulations.
Make God thy goal refine till all success be nobleness.
With the pilot or something like that. I'm serious.
C1 is my classmate Rich.
Pardon me?
My classmate Rich Jekyll next to me here.
Right. Right. Well, I remember your dad's name. It was a big name in the Army. Extremely highly thought of.
And General Davidson, your father, succeeded my father as 7th Army Commander.
Right. I remember that now.
That's where I met my wife, Jean.
Right. Well, those got to be some very testing times over there. The Berlin Wall going up and all of that.
It was before that.
Right. But he was there when that happened.
Your father.
He was. Yeah.
Okay? Before I do that, I want to recognize Jim Farrell for all the great work he did to set this up. How many hours? How many hours? 1,200. Okay, a real quick note. Back in the day, there were 4 of us that formed a 4-freshman group. I got to tell you this real quick. Myself, Ross Gagliano, Ernie Remus, and Bert Spivey, who didn't make it. And you know, we didn't make a lot of recordings, but tonight you're going to hear the national anthem. Now I think it's appropriate because we need to honor America. Okay, we also need to pay tribute to all of our lost classmates who have joined the ultimate long gray line.
All right.
We got about 100 or so. So let's all stand for the national anthem.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose proud stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
K3. All right, where are you? Who are you?
C2.
No short jokes.
All right.
C2.
God bless you all for your reunion.
You didn't ask permission to take our picture.
That's all right. You love it. You love it. God bless all of you.
Hey, Tom.
Johnny Hubbard wants to tell a story.
The discussion that you gave us this morning, is there any way we could get a copy of that?
It'll be on the video. It'll be on this.
Oh, fantastic.
Because I had somebody taping this while I was doing that. So
I would like my wife and my kids to hear it.
Thank you very much.
I'd
I'll
like
make
it
sure.
too,
Thank you.
Have my picture in as though I'm saying it.
I got it. It'll be front and center. All right. Have a great night. Have a great rest of your reunion. And no rain tomorrow, okay?
All right.
Everybody play for no rain. No rain.
Thank you.